Today is the 10th of Kyak, and today we celebrate a very, very important saint in the church. Anybody knows who are we celebrating today? Yes? Okay. I guess it was said very quickly, and we didn't read the whole story. That's why they kept it for me, so I can talk about it. Yes? Saint Nicholas. Thank you, Philo. Saint Nicholas. The good old Saint Nick. You know, you think Saint Nicholas is a made-up person, but not really. Yes? Yeah, he's Santa Claus. Saint Nicholas is a real person. And it seems like the reason why he is very famous for Christmas, that his feast is very close to Christmas. And he was a very, very famous saint in Europe early on. He comes from the time of Nicaea. You know, that means what? 325. He was one of the people that attended Nicaea. Saint Nicholas lived in the time of the church, when the church was transitioning from the martyrs, from the persecution, in the time of Diocletian, over to Constantine the king, who converted the Roman Empire to Christianity. So he attended, and there is a very beautiful cartoon movie, very simple, but it's very poignant too, about Saint Nicholas. So in his time, why we talk about Saint Nicholas? Because it's his feast first of all. We have to give him some attention, of course. But today, I want to talk to you about another virtue. If you think about Saint Nicholas, what virtue would you think of? What can you describe Saint Nicholas as what? Yes, Jason. Giving. What else? We talked about giving before. Generosity. Yes. Love. Giving. Okay. What else? Huh? Patience. Yeah. I would say kind. Basically, that's the and when we talk about virtue of kind, it combines few virtues together. It combines love, but in action, not just a feeling. It combines compassion. It also combines forgiveness. For a person to be kind, has to be loving, compassionate, forgiving, tender-hearted, all these things. That's why I want to tell you about kindness today. Kindness. And again, as we start from the source of all kindness, the Lord Himself, the Creator. I love when the people pray to God and say, "Oh, compassionate and kind God." God is very kind and compassionate. You don't expect from God to be harsh or to be vindictive, holding grudges. We don't think of God that way. One of the things and the sweetest thing about God is that when you come back and say, "Sorry, Lord," what happens? Are you going to be held from your neck like we do with each other sometimes? Or will God forgive? God is very compassionate and kind. We worship a kind God who cares more for us than He cares about Himself, by the way, and His dignity. A God who sends His Son to be mutilated and killed so that we can have a chance to be with Him. So our God is a kind God. Merciful, loving, compassionate. And the saints who are like God, because saints, that's what it means. When we say somebody is a saint, we recognize that person as emulating, mimicking God. So when we talk about virtues, we're talking about the characteristics of God. You're talking about who God is like. We don't see God, but we understand He is kind. He's loving. He's generous. He is patient. He's peaceful. He's loving. He's joyous. By the way, God is happy. I don't think you would catch God sad, ever. And that's why one of the gifts He gives us is joy. Whatever He's giving us is coming from Him. How can somebody give you something they don't have? Can that happen? So if I have love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, all the fruit of the Spirit, where is it coming from? Of course it has to come from Him. It's His own stuff. Money, fruit, food, clothing, riches. Where is that coming from? Is it from God? No, it's something He created and He gave it to everybody. You know, you want to have that, take it. Those who seek to have those things will have it. But give us His own stuff, that's very special. He only gives it to His children. And He gives it willingly and lovingly and lavishly. So let's talk about St. Nicholas today as an example of that. St. Nicholas was living in a city in now what you know now as Turkey, by the sea. And the city is called Mora. The city of Mora. In the time of the Roman Empire, in the time of very aggressive emperors, especially Diocletian and Maximus. Those two emperors reigned together. Maximus was in Rome and Diocletian was in Antioch, Syria. And both of them were very against Christian, very against Christian. So in his time, he was a boy with rich parents, good Christian parents who brought him up in the church. He loved the church. One of the things we know about St. Nicholas is that he loved the church. And as he grew up, became a teenager, his parents died. And when his parents died, he was given all the money and the wealth of his parents. And then he asked the person that took care of the business of the money to distribute as much as he can to the poor people. And they did. One of the times, but he made sure that when somebody gets money, they don't know who did it. That was very famous about him. One of the best stories known about him is about this woodcutter. In his town, in Mora, lived a woodcutter. I don't know if you know the story, but I hope you know it. It's very important. That shows how good he is. He used to, he knew that this woodcutter has 3 girls, and they are coming to be maybe 15, 16, the age of marriage at that time. But in those days, listen to me, which is very weird, the father of the girl have to pay money to the boy, a dowry. You've heard about that before? So it was in the old times, the father of the girl will pay money to the husband if they come and marry their girl. So he didn't have money. And this was a bad thing. He didn't know what to do. So the older one, about to get married, and he has no money. And he said if he can't do that, then the girl has to be taken and maybe will do something wrong. And the Romans at the time would take the girls who are poor girls and use them for very, very bad jobs. So the father was very scared for his daughter. And he was not a Christian. He worshipped other gods. St. Nicholas didn't care. He knew that this man is in big trouble. So he went at night and climbed over his roof and dropped a bag of gold in the chimney. From there, you understand the stories about St. Nicholas coming, Santa Claus coming through the chimney at night giving gifts. That's where it come from. This is the real story. In the morning, the man wakes up and finds while they were setting up, it's winter time, right? Winter time. And they're about to set up the fireplace to burn the wood so that they can have some heat. He finds this bag and he gets so shocked and surprised. He gets excited about it. Another year passes by. The second girl is about to get married. So he gets his first one married. He gets the second one married. He finds another bag. The third time he said, when the season for my third girl to come, I want to know who is putting that. So he waited for him and waited for days. He would not sleep. You go out and look for him, keep the window open. And he caught him climbing up his roof. And he begged him, said, don't tell anybody. I don't do it. This is not me. is Jesus giving it to you. And the man was touched by this kindness and the insistence, and he thought about how St. Nicholas was actually observing and watching if he can help him, when he's going to be able to help him. And this led to the conversion of the woodcutter to become a Christian, and his daughter. When the bishop of the city of Mora died, everybody wanted to have Nicholas as their bishop, and they did. So he became a bishop of Mora around the beginning of the 4th century. That was like maybe 300, 305, something like that. It was still Constantine not yet took over. And in his time, there was a big persecution against the Christians, and they captured St. Nicholas because he was a bishop, and the people actually loved him very much as their shepherd. So when they captured him, they put him in prison for maybe 20 years. He stayed in prison as a Christian for 20 years. When he came out, he was an older man. He didn't know what happened to the church. He went back and he found the church that he prayed in. He was very happy. In that time, Constantine had already taken over, and it was about the time of the Council of Nicaea. He attended. He's one of the 318 assembled at Nicaea. His name is in the records. And he was very unhappy with Arius, who said Jesus is not God. Some of the stories, and you can see it, it's really a little bit funny, said he was so simple and so angry about this man who said that Jesus is not God, and he stood up and punched him in the face. I think that was not kind, but the bishops were angry with him, they say in the story. But then they were about to, they kicked him out of the council, and then at night, the head of the bishops saw a dream where St. Mary, St. John the Baptist, coming and saying to him, "Forgive Nicholas. He did not mean bad. Forgive him." And they forgive him and brought him back. But this is one of the instances to be told about him. He had helped a lot of people. In his time as a bishop, there was accused people in the palace of the king, and the king Constantine was about to kill some of his soldiers, and because he thought they were betraying him or conspiring against him, St. Nicholas had to go to Constantine personally and beg him to forgive them. He said, "There's misunderstanding. Whoever gave you that report is not telling you the truth." And he stayed at the hand of the king, so he didn't order the killing of the soldiers. Later on, they found they were innocent. And he had done a lot of good things, a lot of good things. There's reports about him like right and left. In Europe, especially in the North countries, which is the Scandinavian countries, they celebrate him a lot. And you would find that mostly in those northern countries, and also in England and in Greece. I mean, if you look at Greek names, every 5 Greek men, one is a Nicholas. So, and that's why he is very famous. He's a saint of kindness. We have in the Coptic Church a similar person, and it's famous. Saint Abraham of Fayoum. He's a bishop too. And we have stories about him that are very similar, like Saint Nicholas. One of the stories about Saint Abraham is that when you go to visit the bishop, he's canonized the saint. He has carried very strong virtues. He's like his God in many ways. So you go to visit him, he would not be talking to you. You could sit with him and said, "My son, my daughter, do you know how to read?" And you say, "Yes." "Yes, Sayyidina, I know how to read." He would give you a Bible and say, "Thus, read." And you would be sitting there for like maybe 20 minutes, 30, as much as you want. You'll be sitting there doing what? Reading the Bible to him. In those days, you didn't have recorders or, any digital gadgets that you can actually hear the Bible on it. So he would have his visitors, and instead of sitting and talking, idle talk, he would have them read the Bible to him. Whenever he got money under his hand, he gave it to the poor. Any money. To the degree that the board of the church complained about him to the Holy Synod and to the Pope, and they couldn't do anything to him. And they were complaining. Like, we don't have money to build churches. He's given it to the poor people. And sometimes people knew that he was very kind. They tricked him. There's one story that's very scary. They went to, two brothers went to Abraham and told him, we have a brother that died, and we don't know, we don't have money to bury him. And they were lying to get money from the bishop. He gave them money. On the way home, one of them died. And people got so scared. So he had a lot of this, and there were stories upon stories of how he helped a lot of people secretly. Nobody knew about it. But later, after he died, everybody started talking about this. The same extreme kindness we see in the Lord and in St. Mary and in the saints. Another kind of story I have is from St. Moses, the strong, St. Moses the Black. He's a saint from the 5th century. And he was a gangmaster. He was a murderer. He used to eat a lamb every day. I told you about him one time. And then when he was converted and became a monk and living with the monastic community, it was a big community, very big, everybody living in a cell or a cave. And then one day they knocked on his door, Moses, Moses, Abba Moses, come out. He said, what's wrong? What's wrong? They said to him, we caught one of the monks sinning. It means bad stuff, very scandalous. And we were going to judge him so we can expel him out of the community. And he said, just give me one minute. So he went inside, got himself a bag, filled it with sand, carried it on his shoulder, and the sand, he had a hole in it. And he was carrying and walking with this bag of sand, and the sand was pouring from the back. And they said to him, Abba Moses, what are you doing? What is this? Don't you know that you have a bag? If you're carrying that sand somewhere, do you know that you have a hole in it? He said, yeah, I know, my sons, I know. So what is this? They said, this is my sins. I can't see it, it's running behind me. And I'm going to judge someone else's sins. They were so rebuked, and they felt bad that he, as their elder, their role model, feels ashamed to go and point a finger at someone when he thinks there is a lot of sins that he doesn't see. Because that's what we need to think. You know, before we point a finger at somebody, think about the things that we don't understand and we don't really realize we're doing and sinning against God. And He is kind and patient with us. He doesn't judge us. God does not judge us. And He's patient with us. So they were very rebuked, and they actually treated that person with kindness and gentleness based on the instructions of St. Moses. We think of Our Lady, the Holy Mother of God, as she heard from the angel that Elizabeth, the old woman, is pregnant, right? And she thought about it because she knows Elizabeth, that's her cousin, and she thought, how would she manage? I mean, if she's in the last 3 months of her, so 6-month pregnancy means her belly is big, is about to give birth, and those last 3 months, usually the mother is heavy, and her work is difficult, and she cannot manage. And she had not told anybody. St. Mary knew that, but she didn't tell her. She's very close to her. She didn't tell her means she didn't tell anyone. So she's going to be alone in the house, taking care of business with a 6-month pregnancy, going on to the 9th. How did she feel about that? She felt pity. She felt compassion. And she ran quickly. That's how the gospel says it in Luke. And she quickly went to, means she didn't wait, she didn't take her sweet time. She immediately, once she heard from the angel that Elizabeth says, that's kindness. That's perfect kindness. We think about the kindness when Jesus talked about the Samaritan, the Good Samaritan. Know the story. A man going by from Jericho to Jerusalem, and on the way he got beaten by thieves, evil people. And they almost killed him, took everything with him, and he was almost dying. And people passing by him, they really didn't care to look at him, they were afraid. Like this homeless we had at the door of the church today. We get scared a little bit of that. But you know what kindness says? Kindness says, so what can I do? What can I do? And the person, the Samaritan, who is a good Samaritan, who is a kind person, came by and said, I have something to do with this person. I have a donkey, I have some wine, I have some oil, I have some bandages. Let me clean him up, bandage him, put him on my donkey, and take him somewhere where he can be treated. The poor man could not even speak or help himself. He couldn't stand. He's dying. So the Good Samaritan took him to a place where he gave him to a person and said, take care of him. As much as you need, I'll pay it. And when I come back, I'll give you everything you had spent. These are stories of kindness. So kindness also means forgiveness, that you offer forgiveness. You don't hold grudges against anybody. Now when somebody comes and says, sorry, what do? You say, I forgive you. From your heart, you say, I forgive you. That's kindness. Not offering material things, only money or care or time, but also forgiveness. That's something we need to offer. As much as God is kind enough to forgive us, we need to forgive one another too. Glory be to the Father, to the Son, to the Holy Spirit.